Hello everyone. Happy Memorial Day. I'm outside on the porch because that's where I like to be. And sorry about the sound of that motorcycle. You may hear a little bit of wind noise. I hope not. It's a little windy today. But I'm going to let you look at these pretty roses while I tell you the story. Have any of you ever come in contact with an angel? You know, there might be angels walking amongst us, but they look just like regular people. And I came in contact with two. And I'm going to tell you the story of the first angel that I came in contact with. To tell this story, I need to tell you a little bit of background. Okay? All right. I was single, 2002. I was working at the prison in the specialty clinic as a nurse, and I started having pains in my abdomen. I'd lean up against the desk and I could feel inside, it felt sort of like I was bruised. And then at night I would start having these symptoms where I would just wake up in the middle of night and all of a sudden my head would pound, and it would start out light and then it would get real hard, like pounding so hard that I would just grab my hair and rock back and forth and just wait for it to pass. It was so painful I thought I'd pass out, and then it would go away and I would sweat real bad, and then I'd be kind of nauseated and I'd lay back down and go back to sleep. And it might happen 2 or 3 times a night. Mostly it happened at night. These episodes were always at night, but during the day they didn't happen, and I only could feel that bruised feeling. So I went to my doctor and told her, because these episodes were getting to be pretty severe, and I knew something had to be wrong. So I went to my PCP several times, calling her and telling her I'm still having these episodes. She ran CAT scan and different things, and after about 3 weeks of going to her back and forth, she finally said that they couldn't find anything wrong, that she thought maybe it was I needed to go talk to a psychologist. Well, when I walked out of there, I thought, am I crazy? But no, I knew these episodes were real because, you know, I felt the sweat on my body. My head was pounding. I knew that these were real. It was not all in my head. So that was on a Friday that she told me that. I was kind of bummed out because I thought, what are these episodes, and how will I ever find out what they are? So I got home from work, and it was my experience to go over to my friend's house about 45 minutes away, and she was going to cut and highlight my hair. We worked together, and she's also a beautician. And we did. We had the best time. We visited, and she cut my hair and highlighted it. We just had a great time. And then I started off for home. Well, from her house to my house is about 45 minutes, and it's all country roads. Nothing out there. When I started on that country road to come home that night, I started having one of those episodes. This time it was worse. My side was hurting so bad that I was crying and bending over and praying, God, please, please, please just let me make it home. Now, this was a 45-minute drive, and I was sweating and I was sick and in so much pain. But do you know that I finally made it home? I walked in the house. I called the ambulance right away. I told them to come without lights or sound. And they came and put me in the ambulance and said, oh, we think maybe you have a kidney stone. Your symptoms sound like a kidney stone. Well, I was having so much pain that I was just having to fight, you know, bite my lip, and so scared and so much in pain, and, you know, all alone about 3 o'clock in the morning now, and going to the hospital. So I went to the hospital and I begged them, please do something about this pain. They said they couldn't do anything about the pain until they found out what was wrong with me, because had I had to go to surgery, they didn't want anything in my stomach. So they did CAT scans. Now this whole time I'm crying and just biting my lip and just moaning and just, I mean, in severe pain. I thought at any time I would pass out from the pain. It was so bad. So I got my CAT scan results. I got my CAT scan done and went back in my ICU. It wasn't ICU, it was a emergency room. You know, and in the emergency room they have curtains around each little cubicle. And it was a pretty big emergency room. I imagine there were about 20 beds in there. And I went back into the room, pulled my curtain, and waiting for the results. Now, I hadn't called him my family yet because, you know, they're all sleeping, and I'm just going to wait and see what they say and then call them with the results. And as I was waiting in that little cubicle by myself in so much pain that I thought for sure that I would pass out, I just didn't see how my body could take this pain without doing so. I was dripping in sweat, so nauseated. Worst pain I've ever had, worse than childbirth. And them keep telling me that I couldn't have anything because I was, you know, I might have to go to surgery. After about an hour, this young man came in. He was a resident. I think he was a third year. And I recognized him because at the prison where I worked in the specialty clinic, we had different doctors from Texas Tech come out every day to see patients. It might be urology one day, cardiology the next, ear, nose, and throat. And they would bring their residents with them. And I had seen him come out with the surgery team to see the prisoners. So I was aware of who he was. And he said to me, "We have your CAT scan report back, and you have a large tumor on your left adrenal gland, and it's malignant." Now, you have to remember, I had sleep deprivation because I had not gone to sleep this night. By this time, it's about 5 a.m. And I was just, you know, not to myself, or I would have said, "How do you know it's cancer?" without looking at it. But I didn't. I just said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes, we're sure." And then about that time, the cancer doctor came in, which I knew him from the prison, and I had a lot of faith in him. And the hematologist came in, and they told me that there was something wrong with my blood, and that they were going to have to send me to ICU and get my blood work straightened out before they could take me to surgery. But that I needed to go to surgery as soon as I could because this tumor was 10 centimeters and they had to get it out. So here I went to ICU. I was crazier than a loon when they put me on that pain medicine. Oh my goodness, my sister was up there with me. She's a nurse, and they didn't have time to do a bed bath. My sister insisted, so she was bathing me and taking care of me. And then this went on I was in ICU for a week, and I was just goofy as I could be. One day, my sister came up to the ICU, and she saw a gentleman sitting there in a police, you know, some kind of a uniform. She thought it was a police uniform. And she said, "Oh my goodness, what has Charlotte done now?" She thought they had to call the police. And he said, "Oh no, I'm just a friend of hers from the prison." And he'd come in his uniform, and he came every day to check on me, and I appreciated that so much. What a dear he was. A lot of people from the prison came and checked on me. I mean, I had some great friends. They even raised they had a big bake sale and raised money for me because, you know, I just started the prison. I just worked there 3 months. But what was so great, and there again, God took care of me, my insurance was effective immediately, and that state insurance was good. Now you have to wait 3 months to get your state insurance, but back then it was effective immediately. So I was so happy about that. But at this time, with all this pain in this cubicle in ICU and them telling me I had a huge tumor, I didn't much care about anything. I was just trying to live one day at a time. So the day came for surgery. They said it would be a big surgery. Mother and Daddy were there. My ex-mother-in-law and her husband, because I was still really good friends with her, and several other people. My daughter was due to have her first baby, her only baby. Of course, now we know that, but at the time, I had my bag packed because I was planning on jumping in a plane and going to be in the hospital in the delivery room where she had her baby. So here she was, pregnant, and she was in the hospital about to have the baby, and I was going to surgery. And bless her heart, she didn't have her mama there. So they did the surgery, and let's see. I'm trying to think. They brought me out, and they told me that that it was a huge tumor, and that they would have to wait for the results, but that they got it all, and they got all the adrenal gland, but that they nearly lost me in surgery because my blood pressure bottomed out, and they really had to work to get me back. Okay, so fast forward 3 or 4 days, I'm still in the hospital. I have an epidural where I can't feel my legs at all. I have a catheter that's in my kidney, connected in there where the incision is, so that's for pain relief. And then I have a pain pump, so I'm still goofy as heck. Well, they called my mother and started asking her a lot of questions, and my sister, and what was she like before this happened? And because I was really crazy up there, I was demanding and just not right. One night they were taking me to a different room. The urologist put me in a suite at the end of the room because he thought that might be better. Sound was really bothering me. I could hear kids running up and down the hall, and I wasn't myself, so I think I said, those damn kids, and that's not like me at all. But I was just telling it like it was, and it was just awful. I just acted terrible. But it was that pain medicine. I didn't even know what I was doing. And my mother told him, I don't know what happened, but my daughter came into that hospital of sound mind, and now she's just not she's crazy. And so a friend of mine from work came up there and told him, it's the pain medicine, it's the pain medicine. Sure enough, when they switched it, that's what it was, the pain medicine. Okay, so fast forward, in about 3 days after surgery, they came in and told me that I had a Pheochromocytoma. Well, I didn't know what that was. I'd heard of it in nursing school, but they said it was very rare, that none of them had ever seen one, not even the head urologist that had even served in the military as a surgeon, and he was in his 70s. It's very rare, and they saw it, and they were so thrilled, because the residents got to see this Pheochromocytoma. And he said that they got it all, but that I would need to have a CAT scan a week after I got home. Well, I didn't think too much about it because I was still kind of drugged up. But as I started reading about it, I thought, this is so strange. Oh, this is a strange tumor. Back to when I was in ICU, before the surgery. We'll go back to the surgery and I'll tell you about that. That was disastrous. While I was in ICU with severe pain, and those pains kind of came on like labor pains, easy, and then they built up to a crescendo, and then they would ease off. And it was horrible. I thought I would die for sure. My head was going to blow off. I thought it was just going to blow off. But while I was in there, and the doctor had come in and said, your MRI shows that you have a large tumor on your adrenal gland and it's malignant. It's got to come out, but you're going to have to go to ICU because your blood work's off. And I was crying, and I was there all by myself, and I was just like, I said, can I use somebody's phone? I didn't have a cell phone back then, 2002. And I went to the cell phone and I said, Mother, I'm in the hospital. I've got a large tumor that's malignant on my adrenal gland, and I'm going to have surgery, but they're taking me to ICU. Well, it was just not any time at all before they came up there. But right after that, right after I'd called Mother, right after the doctor had come in, okay, here it comes. This is my angel. This lady walked in. Remember, each one of these rooms is covered by, those cloth dividers that you pull. She came in and she said, I heard what the doctor said to you, sweetheart. She said, could I just stay in here and be with you and hold your hand until your mother gets here? She said, I'm with my father. He's elderly and he's right across here from you. And I'll just stay with you till someone from your family gets here. And I said, oh, I appreciate that so much. And she just stood there and held my hand, and it was about 30 minutes or 45 before some of my family started arriving. And when my family got there, my mother and daddy and my brothers, the sister, we didn't see her leave. It's like, I want y'all to meet this lady, and she wasn't there. And I said, oh, Christy, my sister, I said, you're going to have to go across the hall. Her daddy's elderly, and he's in that room right across the hall, because I want you to meet her, and I want to thank her for staying with me. It was so nice. My sister went right across the hall. There was nobody there and no lady. So I asked the nurses about the little elderly man across the hall and the lady that was with him. Well, they said there hadn't been anybody across the hall since I'd been there. So I'm going to tell you that was an angel. I think that the Lord knew that I was in really bad shape, and that it was going to be a while before my parents got there, and he sent this angel to be with me. Now, what the weird part is I couldn't tell you what her face looked like. She did have on glasses. She was a small lady. But that's about all I could tell you about her. She was nondescript. I just remember what she said. Could I stay with you until your family gets here? And oh my goodness, what a blessing that was. And she was dressed in plain clothes. Didn't look like an angel, just looked like a normal lady walking down the street. But I believe that she was my angel. We never know when there's angels walking around amongst us. But God knew that I needed someone, and he sent her for me. So you just never know when you might come in contact with an angel. Okay, let me go back to after the surgery. After the surgery, I went home to my mother and dad's because I couldn't go home by myself. Now, I spent a month in the hospital. During this time, I'm reading about this Pheochromocytoma, and it says that it shoots adrenaline through your bloodstream and that you would have palpating headaches, breakout in a sweat, and nausea. I had the classic textbook symptoms of a pheochromocytoma, and my PCP didn't pick up on it. Told me I need to go see a psychiatrist. She didn't think my episodes were real. So after the surgery, it was Easter. Mother cooked Easter dinner, and then she took me. I couldn't drive. She took me up to the hospital to have that CAT scan. When I came out of the CAT scan, the man that reads the CAT scans, and he's also a nuclear medicine doctor and also a cardiologist, his name is Dr. Rose, and I knew him from the prison. He said, Charlotte, they did not get all of that tumor, and they didn't get all the adrenal gland, but he said, they're lighting up on this CAT scan. He said, but we don't know enough about it. Maybe it's just residual. Maybe they did get it all, and it's just residual tissue. He said, let's wait a month or so and see. Oh, man. I cried. Oh. I just didn't want to cry thinking about it. So, when I got home to my mother's, I called my cousin that worked for MD Anderson, one of the biggest cancer hospitals in the world. People come from all over the world. Shaw came over there, and I had a cousin that worked there, and I called him and explained my situation, and he said, no, you don't need to wait. You need to come to MD Anderson, and I'm going to get you in. So he did. He got me in with a doctor, and the next week my sister drove me to MD Anderson. We had the scans done again, and sure enough, there was the tumor, and there was the adrenal gland. They didn't get it all. And they told me that this tumor is very rare. They'd have to do genetic testing on me, and would have to see if it's sporadic or if it was congenital, and that they could remove it, but they'd have to make sure that I was blocked with alpha blockers and beta blockers. So I had to come home and wait 2 weeks and take alpha and beta blockers and get my blood pressure and everything really low before they did the surgery, because when they cut into that tumor, when they touch that tumor, it's a weird tumor. It shoots adrenaline all through your body, and you can even have a stroke or heart attack. Matter of fact, the doctor said that many times they find pheochromocytomas when they're doing autopsies. Sometimes they don't know until after people died. It's Pheo, chromo, cytoma, cytoma. You can read about it. So that's my story. I went and had the second surgery done, and it went great. It was major. I was there 2 weeks in Houston, had to take off work. My sister took off work. It was really, because they didn't get that tumor the first time, it put me through a lot of misery. But you know what? I wasn't upset, because I'm just so thrilled that they patched me up good enough that I could live and get somewhere where they knew something about it. So I was thankful for that. But this angel will be in my mind forever. She came to me in a time when I needed somebody, and she stayed with me until I didn't need her anymore. And she came in, and she left so quietly that we didn't even know. But I do believe there's angels amongst us, and this for sure tells me that they look like regular people sometimes. So thank you for listening to this story. It's kind of long, but down below, tell me if you've had any experience with someone that you think might be an angel. And y'all, the kids are playing outside and the wind's blowing a little bit, but I just wanted to sit out here and tell this story because I love looking at these pretty flowers. So please subscribe and share if you will. And thank you for listening. Y'all have a great Memorial Day, and we'll talk soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.